Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a paid advertising. TheOnlyGround.com, the THE onlyground.com is one of the most amazing places for information that I consistently go to. If you guys want to have conversations about our old interviews or even topics that we don't discuss, the group of people that are on the onlyground.com message boards are some of the most brilliant that I have ever come across. Those little like knickknack facts that we get here and there, that's where a lot of it comes from. Please check out the link in the bio.
Welcome to the show. I am MMA insider and Herb Dean's dog sitter, Joey Venti, and you're listening to the MMA History Podcast, the only podcast dedicated 100% to the preservation of mixed martial arts history. Interviews and stories about the early days of MMA direct from the men who lived it. Hundreds of interviews, thousands of hours of research, all conducted by the most obsessed mind in the business, the MMA detective Myke Davis. Join us as we document the history of the sport we all love. Welcome back to the MMA History Podcast. I am Joey Venti. I'm with the host of the show, Myke Davis. He is the MMA detective. I am Herb Dean's dog sitter, and we have a special episode for you today. Returning to the show, the Ultimate Fighter Season 6 winner, King of the Cage champion, and friend of the show, Mac Danzig. Mac, thank you for being here again.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so Mac, this is I think this is episode 4 with us, correct?
I think so.
I think so. I think we did pre-UFC, then we did Road to the Ultimate Fighter, Kenny Florian, who's in town here in Chicago. And then we're doing, okay, this is a 4th episode. You know, Mac, the one thing I'm going to say, kind of peeling back the curtain, it's pretty easy for me to kind of understand who still moves the needle in terms of their popularity and the people that follow them. Miguel Torres is 100% one of them. And you are also, like, the amount of views that we get on your videos it's surprising.
Huh. I don't know why. Maybe it's just because people haven't heard from me in so long. So they're like, oh yeah, I remember that guy or something. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not on social media or anything. I mean, I have a Instagram account for my gym that I post on like 3 times a year, and I'm not really. I don't know. I don't really play in that world. It doesn't make me feel good. So because of that, I haven't even tried to stay relevant. So I don't know. I think it's probably because you got this fan base, or like that you guys have this group of people who are kind of like more OG, and that's the whole point of your podcast. And I think, like because of that, you're gonna get more people that remember me probably. Yeah.
It's pretty surprising. Like, you actually got more downloads than Chuck Liddell did.
Yeah.
I mean, even like your 3rd episode, sometimes it's like, oh, your 1st episode, okay, great, a lot of people came. Like yesterday we had another comment, hey, when do you guys finishing up with Mac? When do you guys finish up with Mac? It's just it's nice to see. I think it's the relatability and the interest in what you got going on. So let's start with our plugs. What are we doing now, Mac?
What am I doing?
Yes, gym wise.
Your gym.
Oh yeah, I mean, my wife and I we run a gym here in Central Oregon. We live in like in a small city called Bend, which is kind of like one of those idyllic little mountain towns that a lot of people move to, and all the locals kind of hate the fact that everybody's moving to this town and kind of ruining it. But it's a ski town, ski and snowboard town in the winter, and it's a like a kind of, like there's a river that runs through here, so there's a whole lot of outdoor activities. Like people come up here to mountain bike, to hike the mountains. It's right near the PCT. There's a lot of people, kayaking and all that stuff, and rock climbing is big out here. So it's kind of like it's like one of those towns, and I kind of like it because the focus is on outdoor stuff rather than I don't know, corporate stuff. So it's just big enough to sustain an MMA gym. And the gym that my wife and I run, we don't like I'm not necessarily coaching fighters. So if something about Central Oregon just does not breed people who actually want to fight and take it seriously. So we don't really have a whole lot of people. It's not like I don't think you're going to see me coaching anybody in the UFC anytime soon. Just because that's just not what it's about. But it's about like rather than the other end of the spectrum, which is like the cardio kickboxing, I just do this for fun and fitness type of people, which I don't really cater to. I cater more to people who are like into the sport, they watch it, they understand it, and they don't necessarily want to be fighters, but they are serious hobbyists and enthusiasts. And those are the kind of people that I like nerd out about technique with and teach, and we've got a good community here. So yeah, it's cool. And I'm just other than that, just raising my daughter. She's 16 now, and she's wrestling now, and
That's
trying to help
awesome.
her with that. Yeah, yeah, just living the dream, man. It's beautiful out here. It's really beautiful when we don't have fires out here, like because in the West, fires are just kind of part of the territory these days, and whenever we don't have forest fires out here. There is no better place in the summertime than Central Oregon, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I am of the opinion that jujitsu, it was like what golf was to our generation growing up. Jujitsu kind of is to this new generation of people coming along. I think it's incredibly important, and it's really interweaved in the fabric of I'd say probably college student on up, like towards about 30. And it seems to only be getting bigger,
Yeah. Yeah.
jujitsu in general.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a few other jujitsu gyms here in town. And it's kind of cool because I don't really necessarily compete with them for business. I mean, we do to some degree, but my whole thing is no gi. So most jujitsu gyms are gi primarily, and then they'll have 1, maybe 2 days a week of no gi. And I'm the opposite. I only have 1 or 2 days of gi, and then the rest is no gi. So that's kind of like my niche. Of course, if a 10th planet moves into town then that'll be a thing. But they're kind of their own thing. They're very culty and weird. Um, not hating on 10th Planet. It's just within the scene of jujitsu gyms and everything, they tend to get people that are very loyal, but in a weird way. Like I don't know,
That's
but
a lot of jujitsu gyms. Yeah.
Well, 10th Planet in particular, it's
Gracie Barra.
10th Planet is kind of like the Scientology of jujitsu.
okay.
You know what I mean?
So I mean, no stripe white belt under nobody. And if I had to pick like an affiliation, I'm doing ground control, bro. I'm doing ground control with 10 Planet. I'm going in there full on flat earth.
Flat
Like
Earth
I'm
Jiu-Jitsu.
I'm heading into that storm for
Yeah,
sure. For sure. I
yeah.
don't know for how long,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm definitely going through those doors.
Yeah,
Um,
wait, what do they do? They go like that. Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah. Right. Well, no, you got to go over the eye. I mean, you got to go full
Oh,
on.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. Good.
conspiracy. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, very important, Freddie.
The all-seeing eye. Yeah.
So we left off with you after UFC 100 with Jim Miller, and it was you didn't get fight of the night, but you did against Josh Neer prior, and it was shocking that you didn't get fight of the night. Um, I know Akiyama and Belcher got it. Did you get like a backroom bonus for that?
So I will say I can't really remember, but if I did, it was probably something in the range of like $3,000 to $5,000. They would give like small ones like that, which I was always super appreciative of getting anything extra to help I kind of defer the costs of training and taxes and all that other stuff. Oh, of course, you got to pay taxes on it because they 1099 you for it. But yeah, it was I can't remember what I got. Like those small bonuses whenever I got them, and I say small, like 5 grand or less. I don't really. It's been so long, I don't really remember. But and yeah, I mean. The problem with that fight was like a whole lot of it was just spent with him just controlling on top on the ground. And so the fight had its moments, but I don't think like he kind of neutralized a whole lot and just kind of held for points. I mean, don't get me wrong, he did damage. He's awesome. But like he also just like controlled. He would get the takedown and just like keep me there, and I couldn't really get up. And it was the same, it was a similar struggle with the Clay Guida fight.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I don't think it really was looked at as like a amazing fight or anything.
I
And
think it was one way, like in terms of excitement. It was when you were finally able to not be neutralized. It was like, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, it was.
I heard him with a straight right in the second or third round. I think it was the third round. And he kind of stumbled back and kind of fell against the cage. And I could tell he wasn't hurt, but he was rattled. And I heard the crowd, and I knew I was down on points. And I knew I was gonna like lose a decision if I didn't finish the fight, even if I had won that round. And so I thought, like, my thought process was like, he's hurt. Should I like be tactical and try to pick him apart and try to throw combinations and land the good shot, or should I go for the flying knee because I know he's going to shoot? And I gambled with the flying knee or the jump knee or whatever, and he shot into it, and my thigh landed on his chin rather than the point of my knee, and he got the takedown, and that was it. And those are the kind of risks that you take in fights, and that's it's a gamble, and that's kind of why fighting's fun, but it's also kind of something regretful about it a little bit.
Yeah, you didn't play it safe. That's why it was exciting.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd rather have I'd rather have that than the opposite. So at this stage in your career, all right, so you had an incredible fight against Clay Guida, where unfortunately you fell on the wrong side of that. You had a fight of the night against Josh Neer, which was incredible, where you fall on the opposite end of that. And
Most important fight for me as a martial artist, that fight. Yeah, yeah.
Josh Neer.
Yeah, because it was like it's the first time that I ever fought someone that knew how to pressure that way. And
Oh yeah.
if you watch the way that if you watch parts of the fight, like I can make a highlight reel, a short one, out of the first round of me just landing combinations on him and getting out of the way and hitting him and moving, hitting him and moving. Understand though, while I was doing that, I was in a panic. I was not calm and centered, and the mind plays a huge role in what's going on. And so, like I wasn't feeling confident in that. I was discouraged by the fact that I was landing on him. He was slower than me. I was hitting him, and he was still coming forward. And I had never really dealt with that before, right? And so that taught me a whole lot. And I actually, this is what I think about competing, is that if you're involved in the idea of moving forward as a martial artist and becoming better, you will take little bits from each experience that you have and kind of make like a Voltron of yourself. I took that. It took a while, and as a matter of fact, it took so long that you don't even see it in my UFC career. But my ability to pressure people is like really high now. I was never a pressure fighter necessarily before. I mean, now I'm talking just like sparring in the gym and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
when I do that now, like I'm the most like formidable pressure guy, around, and it's because of stuff like that, of learning in fights like that, and just analyzing it from the standpoint of the person who lost the fight, me, and trying to implement the game plan that he had. A lot of it was just the attitude. He just had this attitude of fuck it, like I'm not gonna stop coming forward. I don't believe in you. And it worked for him. So it was cool. It was a great learning experience for me. It made me better, and I took a piece of Josh Neer and added it to who I am as a martial artist.
Josh Neer as a martial artist, incredibly underrated.
Agreed. Yeah.
Like he was doing Tony Ferguson stuff pre Tony Ferguson in regards to pressure.
Oh yeah, and just gas tank just always coming
Yeah,
forward. Yeah, he
yeah,
was
yeah,
scary.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's you. Sometimes men become cowards when they're tired, and
Oh
Josh will get that out of you.
yeah, yeah, very often. Fatigue makes cowards of all of us.
Yes, oh for sure. So then you had your Jim Miller fight, which was exciting on your side, not Jim Miller's side, and you got three in a row right now that where you were on the
Yeah,
receiving end of a loss.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
What are the conversations like with the UFC at this point?
So, like coming off of two losses, right after winning the Ultimate Fighter and then winning my and then also winning my first pay-per-view UFC fight, then having two losses in a row, I knew going into the Jim Miller fight that it was one of those things where it was like, man, like, I really honestly I didn't want that fight at the time, but I never said no to a fight. I remember Jim had it was kind of new to the UFC and he had just lost to Gray Maynard, and when they offered me the fight with Jim, like I would say things to them, but I would never duck a fight. I just basically what I ended up doing was always just taking what they gave me. I never really did anything else. I never really negotiated much else. Only one time. So in the all 13 fights that I ever have someone negotiate a fight for me. So um the Jim Miller fight was like they offered it and I was like, man, I'm coming off of two losses. I'm not feeling good about dealing with wrestlers right now. I'm having a hard time with that. And I remember Joe Silva was like, well, Gray Maynard just kicked his ass and like just steamrolled him in 3 round decision. I'm like, yeah, Gray does that to me in the gym too now. So what are you trying to say? You know what I mean? Like Gray was like on his ramp to peaking in his career at that point, and Jim Miller was like in his way, and he just kicked Jim Miller's ass pretty much. And I I was like, all right, fine, I'll take it. What Joe Silva said to me after the fight was like, I'm not gonna cut you because of the way that you fought. That's what he said. And again, I gotta say, the more I talk to fighters and colleagues and people like my contemporaries, especially there's a lot of conversation going on right now because of this lawsuit and all the things that are happening, and I'm kind of in contact with other fighters. Nobody has anything but negative to say about Joe Silva. Like so many guys have had really bad experiences with him. And I just never really did. Like he was like he came up to me right after the fight. I had a giant cut on my head with I ended up getting like 12 stitches or something like that, and he would like you could see like the membrane on my skull, and like he was just like, I'm not gonna cut you. He's like you fought your ass off and you almost turned it around at the end, and that's what we want to see, and yada yada. So I was like, wow. I was like, okay.
Mac, I will tell you, and I'm not trying to like dump on anybody here, but what you see in modern day UFC is more point fighting than anything. Very, very few people take risks,
Yeah.
but the people that do take risks have a much larger following than the guys that just play point fighting. And I don't think Joe Silva is maligned as he might be. I think the UFC roster would look a lot different nowadays had he not left.
Yeah, yeah. I thought he was good at what he did. I thought he was a good matchmaker. A lot of, I mean, a lot. If any of the fighters I know or would be watching this, they'd be like, Mac, like don't like they just hate him. I mean, so many guys just hate him. But I always felt like I got a fair shake from him. I mean, when the first Ultimate Fighter was ever happening, they were telling fight they didn't even say what the weight classes were going to be. We know now that the weight classes ended up being what, like 185 and 205 for Ultimate Fighter 1, am I right? It was something like
Yeah,
that. Like you
yeah.
had like Alex Schoenhauer and Forrest Griffin and Stephen Bonner, and then you had Kenny Florian at 185. Anyway, I think like you guys would know better. Koscheck was in there, but whatever. They were telling everybody, UFC is going to make a reality show, send in a video. And so I sent them a video. It was like 2003 or 4 or something like that. I sent them a video and I had my friend recording me with the camcorder and I was talking and everything. And they called me up and that's how I met Joe. And he was like, yeah, like we like you. You know what he said? He said, we like you. You know, you really sound like John Peretti in the interview. And I was like, hmm. I was like I hope that's not a bad thing. But I had kept in touch with him over the years. Like when I signed the King of the Cage contract to my like it wasn't a good idea. I talked to him about it afterwards, and you know we had talked here and there, and I had his number, and we spoke throughout the year. So he was always just we weren't friends or nothing, but
It's
he
cool.
always seemed
Yeah.
like he was giving me a fair shake, man. He knew that I was there and I was about it, and I think when some people they look at my career and they're like, I've heard this a lot, like, oh, you got thrown to the wolves. And I was like, well, you know, I was going around in every single interview I had saying that I just wanted to fight the best fighters in the sport. So, you know,
You got that opportunity. You
yeah,
for sure received that opportunity.
yeah,
And I will even say that there's a lot of people that might say that, but when you look at their behind the curtain resumes of how many times them or their management said no, the words coming out of their mouth is much different than their actions in regards to walking to the cage.
yeah.
You're one of those guys that if you ever said no, it was a rare instance.
Yeah, I never said no. I never said no. I just like after the Jim Miller fight, I hired a manager because I had gotten rid of Monty. I had broke away from Monty for 3 fights, and then I had a guy that was doing Robert De Niro Robert De Niro. He had my manager, he had a company called Denaro Sports, and Denaro means money, right?
Mhm.
And so I would always mess up and call him De Niro, but he was doing my sponsors, and then I just brought him on as my manager, and he worked this like I basically picked who I wanted for the fight after that.
Okay, so the issue at this time, and we've interviewed Monty a few times, the issue at this time is Monty was not really well liked with the UFC brass, including Joe Silva. And at this time, a lot of fighters broke away from him because he didn't do sponsors. He'll negotiate contracts. He'll, help you out, make sure your medicals are straight. But Monty was very upfront with saying, I don't do sponsors. And at this point in the MMA game, sponsors became a very important component in
Yeah.
order to get fight ready. So you took 3 months off after the Jim Miller loss, and I've got that you've moved to Las Vegas to Los Angeles, and you started training at PKG Gym in LA at this
Yeah,
point.
so what happened was after the Jim Miller fight, I was like, I'm over living in Vegas. I put so much pressure on myself to like, oh, I got to be part of this team. And I mean, we were all just in there losing brain cells with each other. I mean, it was a great team. I love those guys. I really love those guys. Martin Campman, Gray Maynard is like one of my best friends. Jay Hieron, Mike Pyle, Tyson Griffin, Sam Stout, like all these guys, they're my guys, but like we were going to war with each other every day, like Kendall Grove, John Alessio, like we were just like we were just like really fucking each other up. And if you watch every single one of us that was involved in that gym for that long ended up losing their ability to take a punch. And that's what spelled the end of all of our careers eventually, is we all developed a chin. And I think it was because the sparring was just so hard. And I thought that's what it was about, and that's what I needed to do. And that's why I moved out there.
Was this at Extreme Couture?
Extreme Couture. And so
Okay.
so after the Jim Miller fight, I had 3 losses. I was like, I'm over it. I'm done living in Vegas. my girlfriend, my baby's mom at the time, didn't want to live there anymore. And I was just kind of miserable and over it. And so I moved to LA and I was like, I had a little money saved and I was just like, I'm gonna take a little bit of time off. And I took a vacation by myself. My baby was an infant at the time, and I went up to Alaska and was like taking pictures of bears and shit, and then we came back and I just moved. I didn't even go into the gym to say goodbye to the guys. My girl cleaned my locker out for me there, and we just moved. And I was staying in Laurel Canyon for a while, and I would just take walks. I had one of those little baby holder things where the baby's facing the same direction as you that you just strap on your chest, and I would just walk all over the Hollywood Hills with my baby and I was smoking a ton of weed. I was like I need like a complete reset. And Dan Hardy was still in LA, and he was a friend of mine, a close friend at the time, and he was like, I'm training at PKG, and he's like, this is why it's cool, because there's no like team structure. It's just a bunch of like up and coming guys, and they're all going to look up to you, and you can just go in there and do that. And so for at the time, for a little while, it kind of worked. It was a decent place to be. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. So you take 3 months off. Um, you're at PKG. And then there was in 2009 of October, there was a clothing line, which was one of your main sponsors, called Hoelzer Reich. And they sponsored you, Cowboy Cerrone, and there was a big fallout with Nazi implications.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so what ended up happening, that was before the Jim Miller fight. The guy that was doing my sponsors and everything, he was like, and I just want to say something. A lot of these guys, like you hear these guys talk about the money that they were making off sponsors. I never once, and I had my guy that was doing sponsors for a lot of guys. Never once have I made after his cut more than like $6,000. I don't know what these guys are talking about. I made more money off of sponsors than I did off my fight purse. I've never ever been able to pull that off. But um, there was this company, and they were offering 4 grand to be the main logo on the shirt and the hat when you walked in, and to have one of the logos on the short.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, and so my guy was like, let's take it. He's like, but they're a little weird. I want you to check it out first. And so I went to their website, right? And I was looking at it and I was like, no. And then I saw, and I'm gonna botch this, and my wife's German, and I don't speak it, but there's the little skull that the Nazi SS guys wore. It's like Totenkopf or something like
Hmm.
that. Like I can't remember how you pronounce it. And I saw that, and then I looked it up, and I was like, "Ah, dude, this is some Nazi shit." I was like, "I don't want to fucking get involved."
Wait.
Wait,
Hold
hang on.
on.
For those who
Wait.
don't know, the city of Danzig was the start of World War II. So you particularly should be wary about wearing shit that says Reich. So good for
Okay.
you.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe that's why they picked me.
Oh
Maybe that's
yeah,
why they
yeah,
picked me
yes.
because of my last name. I don't know. Go
Wait.
ahead, go ahead.
I got to set the table on this because this is fantastic. So, in regards to the MMA space and clothing at this time, there was like Sprawl, of course, Tap Out, Full Contact Fighter was on their way out. Um, but there really wasn't a whole lot of options at this point. And Jess and Jamie Vine were the owners of Hoisler Reich. And I suggest everybody right now pause this video and go and look them up and see their appearance today. The money that they were throwing around, it doesn't appear that people like that should have that type of like disposable income. Like I don't know where the money came from. There's no way like it actually came from them. And like the clothing itself, I mean, is it like German artwork? Yeah. But does it scream Nazi? I mean, I guess like if
Well, look, so like I'm not into that shit, bro.
either am I,
I,
obviously. I don't even know what the
like
fuck it is. Yeah.
yeah, and but I am into the idea of if someone is from a country like and they want to represent like their country's heritage or the heritage of like the ethnicity of the people that have been in that country for a long time, and that country is involved in a war. I mean, like, look at what's going on today. I'm not even going to like mention it, but like we can like point fingers at terrible people, and if we were to say everybody is like them, those guys that are just attacking and killing people nonstop, like everybody in that country and their flag and everything represents nothing but negativity. That's not good for the whole population. So anyway, I saw it and I was like, I'm not doing this. And my manager was like, okay, I talked to them and they swear that they have nothing to do with like neo-Nazi anything. That's what he said. And he said, as a matter of fact, they want to come to Vegas. They're going to drive from the Valley in LA where they live to Vegas, and they want to like give you a box of shirts and they want to meet you. And I'm like, and then I look again at their stuff and I'm like, okay, not only is there the Nazi stuff, but like, look, I don't like tooting my horn about this shit because it always gets me into trouble, but I'm an animal rights person, right? One
Right.
of their designs was this stupid looking cartoon of a steroided out, jacked up Paul Bunyan holding the severed head of Babe the Blue Ox
Oh.
with a bloody axe.
Oh, I mean, dude, wait,
And
look.
I'm
The
just like,
greatest t-shirt ever. I mean, this is
I'm like,
exactly what I want to wear,
I'm
right?
like, fuck this shit. But anyway, so he's like, they want to meet you and like, trust me, it's really good money, and they swear up and down. So they sent me a letter that like an email that said like we don't have anything to do with that, and all we do is representing German heritage and all this stuff. And I'm like, ugh, all right. And then he talked me into it. I met with them, and then and they were nice. They were nice. They were like, hey, like blah 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 blah. Shake my hand, take a picture with me. Now I got a picture with these people, and wearing the shirt that they designed for me or whatever. And then I did the fight. I supported their company, and then more and more people started realizing, hey, this is like Nazi shit. And so then I had to like get on the underground forum or whatever, or I had a friend do it
A
for me. I had a
mess.
friend do it for me and like kind of try to clear my name. And I was just like, I don't want to have nothing to do with it. And I remember their defense was like, well, we also sponsor a Mexican American fighter. And it's just like, well, if you guys know anything about prison, half the people in the Aryan Brotherhood are also, Hispanic people too. I mean, it's just it doesn't mean anything. Like you could sponsor a black guy or a Jewish person or anybody, and it wouldn't
Change.
change the
Yeah.
fact that you guys are pushing this imagery. Like I'm all down for German heritage, 100%. It doesn't have anything to do with this crazy Nazi shit. Like that whole part of Germany's the stain on Germany's heritage because of that is just such bullshit. And you know how much else Hitler and all these other goofballs ruined. Like they took all this like Norse imagery, which was like awesome stuff, and now you can't wear none of that shit. You can't wear the symbols because people are gonna be like, oh, that's Nazi imagery. It's like you just fucking ruined like so much cool heritage that he really didn't have
Symbology.
anything to
Yeah.
do with. Dude wasn't even Aryan. He didn't have blonde hair and blue eyes. Like I
True.
don't know what the fuck that shit was about. But anyway, we're still dealing with this in the world today. And yeah, and it sucks. And I remember like feeling like so shitty about the fact that I went ahead and allowed my manager to talk me into this shit. And 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 then for like years, when you do the Google search on somebody and it auto corrects, so if you say like, I don't know, if you like put like Brad Pitt, it probably says Brad Pitt, Angelina Jolie or something, like
Yeah.
well, it would say Mac Dan. If you typed in my name, it would say Mac Danzig, Mac Danzig MMA, Mac Danzig vegan, and then Mac Danzig racist. And I'm like, oh, all right, man. Like, yes, it's what can you do but just like fucking move on. And I remember my manager after the fallout happened, he was like, well, the best thing to do if someone asks you about an interview is just say no comment. And I'm like, bro, if you say no comment, like what am I, like fucking OJ walking out of the courthouse or something? Like, did you do it, OJ? No comment. You can't say no comment. I'm not
No.
a fucking major celebrity. I'm not you got to address this shit. And so I would tell people, I would
It's
like
a
be like,
nightmare.
yeah, like it's because like against my better judgment, I went ahead and listened to people that and what did he get out of it? I mean, if they paid me 4 or 5 grand, he got like what, like 20% of that. Like, was it worth it for us? Like, I was the one that got put out because of it, not him. He still made his fucking $1,000 or whatever the fuck, and it was no big deal, and to him, but it
Yeah,
was.
his name isn't attached to it. Yeah.
No, it's not. And somehow Cerrone just kind of went, and walked his fucking cowboy ass out of the
I,
situation and
I
everything. I don't
think
know, bro.
I think oftentimes like the I don't know, the offended the mob that gets offended, they look for somebody that is affected by a situation and they understand that the person is, hey, I'm willing to talk about this with you. And then they just kind of go all in on that person to where somebody like Cowboy Cerrone is like, all right, well, if they're Nazis, I'm not dealing with them. Screw it. I don't give a shit. Not talking about it. And they realize they can't get him off of his square. So they're just going to focus on you. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. You actually give a shit. You really do. You always have.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, to my own detriment sometimes, but I can't be anyone else. So.
Well, so your fight with Jim Miller was in June of 2009, and February of 2010 is UFC 109. Justin Buchholz is your opponent. You left Las Vegas, but you kept Gil Martinez and Gray Maynard in your corner.
Yeah. Yeah, so Gil Martinez is like the boxing coach is pretty much. I mean, I don't want to speak for Gray because him and Gray had a falling out later and all this stuff, but I trained with Gray throughout, his beginnings into MMA. And he wasn't a stand-up fighter by any means. He was a wrestler. And I would spar with him and I would just jab the shit out of him and just keep him off of me. And it was all good until he got me down, right? He started working with Gil, and within 3 or 4 months, and it's not just Gil by himself, it's Gray and Gray's willingness to learn and his enthusiasm, his studying of boxing and his abilities. But them together, Gil and Gray, created a version of Gray that was a monster standing. I mean, we were like kind of like separated in a way. This would happen sometimes, like fighters that are all in the same gym, we would have fights on different timelines. And so like while I was off, Gray was getting ready for a fight. And then while I was getting ready for my fight, Gray would be off. And so we didn't always get the chance to train together. But I remember he had been working with Gil for 3 or 4 months and we were gonna spar and it was just me and Gray and Gil was coaching them. And I was like, all right, sparring Gray again.
Here we go.
Boy, like he change. Like he dropped like I watch him moving his head, ducking under my shots, coming up and hitting me. I'm like, wow. And so eventually I started working with Gil instead of Shawn for my stand-up, instead of Shawn Tompkins for my stand-up. And Gil was he was everything that I needed at the time. And there's still so much stuff that I learned from him. you know, he's not a complete MMA coach. He's a boxing guy, but his boxing stuff was really good. And so him and Gray, that's who I wanted in my corner. Yeah. I trained at PKG, but PKG in LA, it was just like a bunch of up and coming fighters. It was just like the I was the wolf there. You know, it was no longer like at Extreme Couture where you had Mike Pyle who could beat anyone's ass and Vitor Belfort and like Gilbert Ivel and Jay Hieron and Martin Kampman and Gray and Tyson Griffin. It wasn't like that. It was like I was the guy there. And Dan Hardy would roll in every now and then and we'd work together, but I was the guy there. So it was a change of pace. It was nice for me to kind of like control the room again. And it gave me some confidence, you know?
So people can kind of understand about Jay Haran and Mike Pyle. What Sean Strickland is today in regards to fighting people coming off the street and boxing whoever walks through that door. Back in that day, Haran and Pyle would just give each other the green light to beat up somebody that thought they were tough coming off the street.
Yeah.
They were kind of the guardians of the gate in
Yeah.
Extreme
I mean, they
Couture.
beat the shit out of like good fighters too, who would come in there
Yeah.
and like like humble, nice guys. Some dudes came in from Japan one time. They were nice, they were cool. Jay Haran beat the crap out of them, man. And I was just like why? You know what I mean? And he's like, I had to represent them fools. And I'm like, all right, that's kind of just the way that things went at that gym. You know, it wasn't any different, you know. And so yeah, those guys were the gym kings, you know.
I sent them both messages trying to get them on here. They don't do a lot of interviews.
Hmm. Yeah, I don't know why.
Uh,
I could talk to them for you.
yeah, it was.
They're good dudes. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah.
like, yeah, Mike Pyle was the for a long time like the stereotypical like underperformer. Um, when Mike was at his peak, I think that if he could have performed the way that he performed in the gym in a fight, the only people giving him any problems at the time were GSP and Matt Hughes.
That's
I
nuts.
firmly believe this. I mean, you can watch him like I seen guys that he lost to come to the gym 6 months later and he just tools them. And it's like Mike just had a hard time like getting his mind right. But he like anyone can tell you because he was so comfortable in the gym when Pyle would spar anybody, it was a problem. And it was really hard
Wow.
to deal with him. He was the
Kind of
best
like
guy
kind of
in
like
the gym.
like a Joe Riggs.
Yeah.
Yeah. I trained with Joe a lot too, and Joe was damn good. But Pyle was like on a different level than him in the gym. I bet if they
Wow.
fought,
Really.
Joe probably would have won. And Joe's excellent.
Yeah.
Joe had some mind stuff too, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I think Pyle eventually, I think it was later in his career, but he kind of got his mind together and he did some good things. I mean, he knocked Josh Neer out cold, something I couldn't do, you know.
Josh Neer, when we had him on, was just like, man, this guy's hit me with pillow fists. He's like, I couldn't believe it. And Neer is taunting him in the fight, and then bam, gets hit with the sledgehammer.
What's
Yep.
funny is Mike Pyle helped me get ready for the near fight, and we drilled that triangle defense over and over. But that's it. When I fought Josh, what what beat me wasn't technique. It was the mind. It was the mind game. I wasn't comfortable, and I wasn't in a comfortable place, ready to defend. It being comfortable is a huge thing. That's kind of what it's all about. The best guys are comfortable in that situation, and kind of what your job is to make the other person uncomfortable. And I think that ties back in with the thing about Mike Pyle. He was very comfortable in the gym and not so much in the fight. And if you're not comfortable, performing becomes a different thing. I mean, you could take any activity, any competition. Chess is like that. There are people that are amazing chess players, and then you put them behind a camera against top ranked people in the world, and they don't like the attention. They don't like the environment, and it changes everything, you know.
You were sponsored by Gamma O for that fight as well. So, I mean, you did at least fall on your feet with another clothing sponsor
For which fight? The Buckles fight?
for the Buckles fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think they gave me like 2 grand to wear their hat or something like that.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Justin has got an interesting story. He left Team Alpha Male in 2018. Um, After that, you fight at UFC 115. They've got the Ultimate Fighter season 5 versus the Ultimate Fighter season 6 with your opponent, Matt Wiman.
Wyman.
Wyman. Very interesting fight in regards to you're talking about playing chess. Wyman played an excellent game in this bout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, that was just one of those deals where, referees are human and they make mistakes, and he kind of bought what Matt was selling him, and Matt and I are really good friends now. We became good friends, but yeah, I look back on that, and you can be like, man, that was a terrible stoppage, and it was, and I still I was pissed for a long time that was still on my record, that they didn't like reverse that and call it a
Let
contest.
me set the table. Let me set the table a little bit. Matt Wyman convinced the referee Eve Levine that the guillotine that he applied to Mac Danzig, that Danzig was out, when it was not the case. Mac was just biding his time, waiting, letting Wyman's arms burn out, and Eve stopped it. And Mac is like, the reaction from Mac, it's not like he just came to. It's just like, wait a minute, what?
Yeah,
What
yeah,
are we doing?
yeah. Yeah, and it was a debacle. It was one of the first times that there was like a blatant mistake like that from the ref. And what I think is really dumb about the way MMA is just like the ref makes a decision and then that's it. So if the ref goes like this and waves it off, then it doesn't matter. They could be like, "Oh, wait, I'm sorry," unless you're Cecil Peoples. Then you can in like something small like Gladiator Challenge, you can get away with screwing up and then being like, "Oh, wait, never mind."
Keep
But in the
going. Yeah,
UFC,
keep
it's like,
going.
yeah, yeah. In the UFC, it's like there's just nothing you can do. And I was kind of bummed that for a long time that they didn't call that a no contest or whatever, because something really dumb will happen. Like someone will win a fight and then they'll get like popped for cannabis metabolites, and then they make
That'll
the
get
fight a
overturned.
no contest now.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, damn, that sucks. And I remember just being kind of bitter about that for a while. But here's the facts. I shouldn't have ended up in that position. Like I was going to get out of it probably, but no, just hear me out. As somebody that's good at grappling and knows grappling and jujitsu, I was really dumb to leave my neck out there. He was in butterfly guard when he first went for it, and I was dumb to just kind of like let him like kind of lock onto that. And that's what caused me to have to roll to the bottom of mount, which then led to a situation where, there was some idea that I could possibly be out. Here's the problem. I was doing this with my arm. Like I was kind of like trying to, and it kind of looked like my arm was limp, but the other arm was pushing and posting on his hip. So the thing was the ref was on the side of my like limp arm, I think. So I was like trying to like just relax right here, and the other hand was pushing straight on his hip. And what's weird is he grabs the arm that's like straight and posting the way that you would grab someone's arm to pick it up and drop it to see if they're out.
Yeah.
And he shakes it, and my arm's not limp and he still stops the fight. He just made a knee-jerk decision. And as soon as it happened, he was apologizing profusely, and me and Matt almost tried to start fighting again. Not like being mad at each other, but I went into
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
corner, put
It's a
my hands up,
mulligan.
and I was like, dude, I'm
Yeah,
ready to go. Like
yeah,
the ref screwed up, and Matt's like, all right, let's go. And
yeah,
then
yeah.
yeah,
It's a
it was
mulligan. A do-over. All right, let's get this thing going
yeah,
again. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's I agree with you. You have a little too much weed in your system. It's a no contest. A referee even admits screwing up. Sorry, it's stuck on your record.
And
Yeah.
so the UFC was at a point in time when at that time there was 2010 where they were still climbing the ladder to be this crazy almighty power in MMA. They were there, they were the top, but they were like collecting athletic commissions. And what ended up happening was Vancouver Athletic Commission, they were like trying to get in with them and make this happen. And then when my manager wrote a letter on my behalf to put up a stink about, hey, this should be called a no contest and all this stuff, they were like, don't say anything. They literally told me and my manager, don't talk about the ref messing up ever again. They said that. They told us not to. And so I was just kind of it like, all right. And the UFC gave me a little extra money and said, sorry, they fucked this up. And that was what it was supposed to be, was like, take the money and be happy that you got some extra money, and don't talk about it. And that's
Was it your win purse?
yeah, they gave me my win money. I gotta say, I was really grateful. I still am. That's huge. I mean, when you're making like 18,000 for a fight or 17,000 for a fight, to get double that, and I mean, I felt like I was gonna win anyway, but then again, who knows? You never know. I mean, Matt's a fucking tough guy. So uh they gave me my win money, and that was awesome of them. But then at the same time, it was like it was conditional. They didn't tell me in the locker room it's conditional, but weeks later I learned it was conditional upon me keeping my mouth shut, because the UFC was trying to build athletic commissions and they did not want controversy.
Controversy. And I get that. So was Ant Evans, who was the UFC media relations person, was that the guy that was relaying this information to you, or was it like Joe Silva?
I can't remember. It wasn't Joe. It wasn't Joe. I can't remember who it was. I don't know Ann Evans. I don't know. It was someone talking that my manager had a lawyer draft this letter to them, and then they responded, and I can't remember who the guy was in the UFC that
Okay.
shut
Okay.
it down.
This was like, in my opinion, I mean, we're talking 2010. This is the one of the greatest eras of mixed martial arts. It's post no holds barred, Wild West days. It's still like all the way up through 2010 is truly incredible. Very, very special. And I also think maybe that's why you've got such a loyal following, because there's former UFC fans that still love that era that don't watch the current product.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
they continued with matching you against other Ultimate Fighter contestants. Joe Stevenson was your opponent December 11, 2010 at UFC 124. Um, Performance of the night winner on this as well.
yeah, yeah. That was like so. I had those three losses, and then I bounced back with the win over Justin Buckles, who was the one person that I was like, yeah, that was the one time when I had a manager like negotiate a fight. We didn't say no to anybody. They were just like, who do you want to fight? And I'm like, I want to fight that guy. Like there was a short list of guys. No offense to Justin. It's just I knew he wasn't on my level, and I wanted to be put in a position where if I lost, I could confidently say to myself, I don't belong here. Like
Okay.
losing to Jim Miller, losing to Josh Neer, losing to Clay Guida in close fights too sometimes.
A-list talent. It's
Like
A-list
yeah,
talent.
but losing to Justin Buchholz, it's nothing against Justin. It's just like he's at the bottom and he belongs there. But if I can't beat him, I don't belong there, and I can make peace with that. And so there was like, it was like him. There was a dude named Dale Hart, I think, whose claim to fame was Corey Hill breaking his leg trying to kick him. I, no offense to that guy either. Like, I'm just saying, like, there were guys like that that kind of were the dudes that Cole Miller and Joe Lozon were getting a fight. Like they were fighting these guys. That's kind of who I was trying to get matched up with. And I saw Buchholz fight Jeremy Stevens, and I saw him throwing head kicks with no setup, and I was just like, that's the fight that I need to get back on track. So anyway, I had that win, and then I had this loss because the ref screwed up, with the Matt Wiman fight, and I'm like, man, like things aren't looking great, and I'm like, what am I gonna do? And they offered me a Joe Stevenson fight on 6 weeks' notice. And now for the UFC, 6 weeks isn't short notice. Obviously, 6 weeks is not short notice, but it's more on the short end. Like most of my fights, I knew 10, 12 weeks in advance.
You also had a canceled bout with Matt Wiman, a rematch
Yeah, I had
in
gotten
between
injured.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I had gotten injured in preparation for that fight. I had gotten thrown by a guy, and like he landed with all his weight down on me, and I jammed
Oof.
the sternoclavicular joint, which is where your sternum and your clavicle meet, and I couldn't really twist or do anything. Yeah, but yeah, I was going through some heavy personal stuff at the time too. And I remember just being offered that fight and being like, I am gonna take this opportunity and I'm not gonna screw this up. And so I put everything I had into that. And that was one of those fights, man. Like, this is why it's so like fighters like Tony Ferguson, fighters like guys that have had a run, Benson Henderson, Frankie Edgar, guys that have had a run of fights where they were at their peak. That's what is so impressive when I think about this. Because that fight, me against Joe Stevenson, I was at my peak. And I was doing stuff in that fight that I hadn't done ever before in my career. I was developing abilities in preparation for that fight that I didn't have before, you know? And I wasn't able to hold on to what I achieved training for that fight. And that's why I look at like I don't have a problem with not being among that top echelon when I think about it, because what's so special about someone like Tony Ferguson's 12 fight win streak is like 8 of those fights are against absolute killers, and he's staying on top of his shit, and he's fighting in an amazing way. I was at that moment in the Joe Stevenson fight, and I think he was like on the downslope. And so it was an easy fight for me because like I was peaking and he was going down at the time. And that's the one thing that sucks about not having a good coach, like a real coach that's there for you, is you can have a performance like that. You can build all these skills and you can become a fighter. And that night that I fought Joe, I was a different fighter than I had ever been before in my career. And you can achieve that, but not be able to hold on to it for the next fight because you need to nurture the things that you develop. And I didn't do that. I developed these skills. I was landing stuff, and my stand-up was amazing. It was a different style I was applying. After that,
Let me interject right here, just so everybody can kind of understand. You, Joe Stevens, you're claiming that Joe Stevens was on the way down. You're his first KO loss in 11 years.
yeah, yeah, I guess what I'm saying is like I'm not saying that he was done, but it was just like I think like to be fair, he was like when I fought him, it wasn't the same guy that from like 3 years prior who was like submitting guys real quick and beating the crap out of Spencer
Okay.
Fisher and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay.
when I watched him like lose a decision to Soteropoulos, I was kind of like, you know what I mean? And nothing against George Soteropoulos, who's great. It's just, you know, like I was like, okay, like, he wasn't. I don't know.
You saw holes. You saw the same
Yeah,
holes
I
that
saw
that other
holes,
people. Okay. That
but I
maybe
was
weren't there before.
peaking in a way and I was developing skills that I hadn't developed before. And so I took them into the fight. The fight was successful. I win by knockout in less than 2 minutes. And then I'm like, I want to fight again right away. Like, I'm not hurt. I'm enthusiastic. I'm riding this momentum. Momentum is huge in this sport. And I'm like, I'm riding this momentum. I want to fight again. And you know what they told me? They said, we just absorbed the WEC roster and we've got way too many lightweights, and you're going to have to wait at least 9 months to fight again. And
Wow.
so,
Let me set this up. Let me set this up. So it was a counter left hook, and you landed it on more than one occasion. And I think Joey, you and I were watching that fight. What you and I are going to take notes are going to say he's landing it, but he's not loading up on it.
Right.
It's something he's seen on film and he's comfortable with it, but he's not getting overzealous. And he's just landing it as it's supposed to, like you're just threading the needle perfectly every single time. And caught Joe right on the chin. And it was his first KO loss in 11 years. Now, the one thing that changed in with Joe's training was I think it was Soteropoulos. Right after that, he moves to Albuquerque to train with Greg Jackson. So I think he knew the odometers were getting a little high on on the mileage with that himself, and make some changes to Albuquerque. Now, Mac, I don't recognize your corners for this fight.
yeah. So I had Dan Hardy in my corner and Jeremy Humphreys. And Jeremy
Okay.
was one of the guys from PKG in LA. And Jeremy and I had become really close friends. He's a good fighter too, good wrestler, good jujitsu guy. Me and Jeremy Humphreys became like really tight.
Right.
He was like the
Okay.
one guy at that PKG place that I really vibe with. And it was him, it was Dan Hardy, and I'm trying to think if anyone else was there. I don't think anyone else was there. Yeah, it was him and Dan.
So they offer you June 11th, 2011. The WEC fighters start the merge with the UFC, and your canceled bout was with Cowboy Cerrone.
Yeah. So what's really interesting is I fought Joe Stevenson in December, and I told them I want to fight again right away. And they were like, "Well, we can't. You're going to have to wait at least 9 months." That's what they told me in January. So that would have been September, right? Well, really stupid. This is when I realized like how WWF the whole thing was becoming. Um, in May, I just had some stupid exchange on Twitter where like I think Cowboy and Cole Miller had some beef, and I was kind of friends with Cole Miller, and they were talking shit to each other, and Cerrone said some things about Cole, and so I took offense to that, and I was also taking offense all the time, years leading up to this, at people with gimmicks. And so I said something about how it was stupid to like go around with a like I don't think I mentioned Donald's name or Rampage's name, but I said like wearing a chain and howling at the moon like you're some kind of like pro wrestler, or walking to the ring wearing a cowboy hat like you're one of the village people. That's not what the sport is about. And so he said something, and I'm telling you, like, I'm just being honest. Like, I was not trying to like create beef for a fight. I was just speaking my mind. I was like, fuck people and like bringing gimmicks into this sport. This isn't about that, you know? And keep in mind, this is like pre Chael Sonnen, like just pre Chael Sonnen doing his whole thing, right? And I was like, I was like, man, that's dumb. And then that was that era when the MMA news websites started like taking screenshots of Twitter responses and making articles out of it. I mean, I don't know who makes money just being like, oh, let me take a screenshot of this exchange between these people, and let me take a screenshot of what a bunch of nobodies have to say in response to it, and just fill in the blanks and make an article with it. Well, that was an article and became a thing. And then Joe Silva called me up and was like, "Do you want to fight Donald Cerrone in like 8 weeks?" And I'm like, yeah, I guess. And I'm like, that's what I have to do to get fights. You told me I was going to be on the shelf for 9 months. And then 4 or 5 months into this, I get in some stupid little argument on Twitter with somebody, and you're offering me a fight now. That's all I have to do. And so I agreed to the fight, and I was trying to get ready for it, and I got injured again. And of course, like people were like, "Oh, he's pulling out because he's afraid." It's like, I don't know. Yeah, there was a fight that never got to be. It's a shame too because I was looking forward to it. He's a fucking tough guy, man. But I think he was.
Yeah, but he was different then though. Like I think he leveled up after a few fights into the UFC. I think
Yeah.
you would have caught him at the right time.
I think so too. I think
Yeah.
style wise, I think I offered a style that would give him problems. But I will say one thing about him. He was way better on the ground than anybody knew or realized. And it wasn't until I can't remember who it was like that he fought, but like he, like I heard stories about Cerrone at Jackson's, and I heard stories about him like his grappling ability, and I think that's one thing that a lot of people m- like didn't take into account or didn't realize is how good he was on the ground. But yeah, but anyway, yeah, it was a it was a opportunity that I missed, and it sucks. And so then that momentum is gone. You know what I mean? The momentum from the Stevenson fight. I don't fight again until October. And so we're talking like a whole 10 months in between fights. And without a coach, like cultivating the things that you're learning and nurturing these skills, it's really hard to hold on to things. And that's why I have so much respect for these guys that hold on to win streaks with amazing peaks for years. It's crazy.
So August 14th, 2011, Shawn Tompkins passes away, your former coach. How did that hit you?
That was hard, man, because Sean and I like I stopped working with Sean because of the way that things went in the Guida fight and the way that he was kind of like treating me. And I never really had the conversation with him about that. And me and Gray were really close, and we both kind of were turned off. We were friends with Sean for a long time. We were kind of turned off by some things. And in hindsight, they were so minor. They like, don't get me wrong, I didn't have a falling out with Sean. We didn't have a fight. We were still cordial. We were still cool. But me and Gray and some other guys were kind of like, and we just kind of weren't really messing with Sean anymore. And I was close with him at one point, and his wife at the time, Emily, who was Sam Stout's sister, these people were like family, and I distanced myself from him because I was like still miffed about the way some things went. And I never got to tell him like, hey, it's okay. It's no big deal. Because he was a good dude, He's a good person. And it was just a reminder of how life is, and just someone can just be gone like that. And you think that you got all this time. You think in your mind, oh, I'll deal with this later. Or, you know what? I should talk to Sean and like, just give him a hug and just say what's up. And I wasn't able to do that, and that sucks. Yeah. So that was a bummer.
How would you describe his relationship with Junie Browning?
Well, Junie had come to Extreme Couture, and also that Dave Kaplan guy had come, both from the same Ultimate Fighter season, and they were kind of what Gray used to call the B team. There was guys like me and Gray and Tyson Griffin and Stephan Bonner and Forrest and Pyle and Hieron and these guys and Martin Campman and Johnny Hendricks, and we were like all like kind of like
Dude,
these
the killers,
top level
killers.
guys.
You kidding
And then
me?
there would be these dudes who were like fighters and maybe they had a contract in the UFC, but they were kind of like, And Junie was kind of like that. And I don't really know Shawn's thing with Junie too much. I just know Shawn was training him and Shawn was kind of rolling his eyes about him sometimes, but it was in kind of not a fuck, I hate this kid, more of like a I've got to watch this kid because he doesn't believe in himself and maybe I can kind of pull something out of him. But Junie didn't have any. He walked into Couture's and was just like, I want to be at the bottom. I don't believe in myself enough to be as good as you guys. He would say that, and that's. I mean, you write your own story in life. I did that to myself. I don't.
So I might edit this out. I might edit this out. So Junie had an issue where he had been hospitalized because he had some problems with pills or some sort of medical issue in regards to partying. Let's call it at that. And it was right around the same time that Shawn Tompkins left Tap Out Gym. It seemed like Tap Out separated themselves from Shawn at that exact same time, and then Shawn, walks across the street. I mean, figuratively, not literally, into Extreme Couture.
No, no. That's not how things went. Shawn was already a part of Extreme Couture. By the time I moved there and started working and getting ready for my fight against Bocek in 2008, which he cornered me for, he was already the head MMA coach at Extreme Couture, which meant that he was running the practices at Extreme Couture. He was running the MMA practices, and he also trained some of the guys in striking. Um, when by the time I left and moved away from Vegas and then started coming back to Couture's just for training camps, like and staying with Gray or whatever, because I didn't live in Vegas anymore. He had made a transition and gone to Tap Out. That's how
Okay,
he
okay,
went to
all right.
Tap
So
Out.
you went
Yeah,
from a Couture to Tap Out. So I
yeah,
kind of reversed it.
yeah, yeah.
But it was right around that same time where Junie had a medical issue in regards to a wild night out. Was there any correlation there?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I wasn't there when it happened, and I don't have any info on that. I was kind of when I moved and went to back to LA, I sort of distanced myself from
The whole crew.
like the
Yeah.
whole thing. And Gray was the only person that I was like staying in close touch with. And Gray was kind of critical of those guys at the time, and so we didn't really talk about it.
I will say Gray is somebody, and I've interviewed him once. I think Joey, you and I should revisit that
Yeah.
with our kind of new format. Gray's a guy that's very serious about training, and he expects the people around him to be as serious as he is. And if I were to put some context behind the question that we just had, the interaction we just had about Tompkins, Tompkins liked to party. Tompkins was a fun guy. There's nothing wrong with that, but sometimes when you expect adults to act like other adults and they fall short of that, um, it's not
Yeah.
necessarily your fault, but sometimes when fingers get pointed, you can be part of the you
Yeah.
know
Yeah, I think so. I've heard these things about Shawn before. I never experienced them firsthand. I
great
never,
guy, but
yeah.
like to have a fun time.
Yeah, that's what I had heard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about the connection between that
Okay.
yeah.
Either way, you get fight of the night on Versus October 1st, 2011, with the rematch against Matt Wiman. You guys seem to have identical game plans going into this by going after each other's bodies.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a good fight. That fight was pretty epic. I wish that it hadn't gotten lost in the fray, so to speak. Like by like when people think about great fights, they don't always bring that fight up. But I think that was a really good fight. I think
Dude,
it was maybe one of the best fights of the year, like a top five fight of the year, I think, and he surprised me in that fight because honestly, I probably underestimated Matt a little bit. I just knew that I was at a different level than him, but this is another thing about the pressure. And that's why I'm saying I hadn't like the Josh Neer fight was my introduction into dealing with a pressure fighter. And then Matt had a real pressure game. He had the game of like, I don't care. I know you're gonna hit me. I'm gonna go through you to get inside, and I'm just gonna keep moving forward, and I'm not gonna let you breathe. And that was tough. He was way tougher than I expected him to be. And and yeah, man, it was a good fight. Yeah, I tore him up to the body. He said he was like pissing blood for a couple weeks after that, which sounds bad. But he hurt me with a knee to the body that was nasty too. Yeah, we both had our moments in that fight, and we still talk over the years, and every now and then. I mean, one time I think just a couple of years ago, he hit me up and was like, "Hey, I watched our fight again, and I kind of think you won." And I was like, "That's funny because at the
yeah,
time I
we
thought
agree.
I
Yeah,
thought I
we agree.
won."
We
Well, at the
agree.
time I thought I won, and years later watching it, I'm like, "Nah, I see why they gave it to Matt." You know what I mean? But it was a close fight. It was a war. It was a great fight. So.
Okay, so from sitting on the couch watching what took place, what my point of view is when you fought Bosak, you had surgically placed knees in regards to just kind of chopping him down. And you had gotten completely away from throwing knees to the body and you brought them back against Wiman. It
Yeah.
was like something took place within your training that said, no, 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 we're going to get back to kind of what made things successful initially. And dude, it's incredible, man. It's
Yeah, that's the first fight coming off the Stevenson fight, and that was 10 months separation. And like I wasn't moving. If you watch it, I wasn't moving the way I moved when I fought Joe. When I fought Joe Stevenson, I was moving in a way. I had this movement that I had developed that I wasn't doing before, and I didn't keep that with me. And I just remember going into that fight with Wyman and being like, I had like any fighter. I'm not making excuses. Like any fighter, I had a lot of injuries going in, but my back was really messed up, and it made me kind of stiff and tense in a way that I wasn't like flowing and moving my shoulders and like when my back locks up, I can feel it to this day. Whenever my back locks up and I'm like training, it screws up my movement, and so I was kind of like tight core, holding on to position throughout that fight, which is kind of fatiguing. And yeah, if you look at it, it's a completely different fight than I fought against Joe. And that's one of those things. It's hard, like I'm saying, it's hard to hold on to the things that you accumulate as a martial artist and your tools unless you are really on top of it or you have a coach that recognizes these things. And I personally don't see very many coaches. I was jaded and had a cynical attitude towards coaches at the time, and I still kind of do. I don't think that there's a lot of great coaches out there.
okay.
And so
Wait. Let me interject. Let me interject here. You and Kenny were talking about when we had Kenny Florian on your last episode. Phenomenal listen. Um, you guys talked about coaches, and there's a bunch, not a bunch, there's a handful of coaches that have never competed in any type of combat sport whatsoever.
Some of the biggest coaches.
Some of the biggest, Eric Nixick over at Extreme Culture, who's seems to be sticking his neck out quite a bit on his podcasts in regards to criticizing people. Greg Jackson is another one. Those are two monster coaches, and those are just the two that come to head. Like, they've got no competition experience, but they certainly have pretty big opinions and have had a degree of success with their fighters. I mean, that's, I mean,
Look, let me just say something. If I don't know, I'm just picking off the top of my head. If I get if Corey Sandhagen comes to my gym and Max Holloway comes to my gym and who else? I don't know, like Justin Gaethje, they all come to my gym. You think I'm gonna have success? Of course I'm gonna fucking have success. It doesn't
yeah.
matter what the fuck I do. I can be like I can have a lobotomy and just drool in the corner and my guys are still gonna win. You know what I'm saying?
Dude,
Like,
Jeremy Horn said that exact. You were repeating what Jeremy Horn told us.
really? That's
Yeah, I
funny.
mean, your word for word, what Jeremy Horn said. Yeah,
Yeah, Jeremy's a great guy, man. Yeah, we never talked about my relationship with him. He's a good dude. I haven't seen him in years, but
yeah.
yeah, so yeah, like I think that let's just be clear. Not every fighter needs the same type of coach, right? So like some fighters need someone to hold their hand and they need someone to be like, don't eat that, do this. Okay, we're gonna set a bedtime for this and we're gonna do this tomorrow and we're doing that and blah 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 blah. And they need someone to guide them throughout the whole thing. And if that person fails or falls out on them, they lose their shit. I don't know. I don't know if I should mention. I mean, look, Joe Riggs was like this, and his relationship with Billy Rush was such that Billy was like, don't, telling him what to eat, telling him every calorie. Billy would order food for him when we'd go out to have lunch or dinner. Like he needed his hand held, Joe did, through the whole process. And when Billy would, what is it called, falling off the wagon or getting back on the wagon,
Like before the Hughes fight, it happened. Yeah.
and it also happened before the Mike Swick fight. Let me just tell you that that fight, Riggs fighting Swick, was 100% Riggs saying, I want to get out of here. There's two instances that I know as a fact where fighters have given a guillotine, because if you shoot in on somebody, as long as you don't get caught with a strike coming in, you're going to get guillotined. And when you get guillotined by the person who's attempting it, you can let it sink in and you can tap out. There's two instances I know in which fighters purposely gave that up. And Joe did that against Swick because he was beaten before he came in, because Billy had a bender the week of his fight, right? And Joe needed somebody to hold his hand. And I'm not, and this sounds bad. Joe Riggs is fucking awesome. He's a
Yeah,
monster,
legend,
and
legend.
he's a bad
Yeah.
motherfucker, and and he's a talented guy, right? But I'm just being honest,
Well,
yeah.
he's admitted he's a head
Yeah.
case.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of there's people that need that. Then there's people like me who they need someone that believes in them truly, but also lets them do what they like. I spent so much time training myself and so many years developing, training myself, that I need space. And I don't want somebody all over top of me, like telling me what I can and can't do all the time. I need a different type of guy. And so there's different types of coaches. And some of these guys who don't really know shit, they might be, if it were to give like a Greg Jackson the benefit of the doubt, I would say that Greg probably runs, or ran at the time, a great practice. He probably organized a great team practice. I don't think that his like advice or his like ability to really understand things was maybe that high, but he tried. And I think more than anything, he got guys together and pulled a group together, and that's what was good about him. And so someone like Rico Chiaperelli does not run a great practice and does not bring guys together, but he will give you techniques that nobody else has. You know what I mean? He will make you understand body mechanics in a way that you never even thought possible. He understands it on the cellular level. You know what I mean? And so there's different types of coaches, and there's not one size fits all. But yeah, at the same time, there's a lot of charlatans. Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk disrespecting coaches, and none of us have done that in this conversation. If you listen to our Joe Riggs interview, he specifically mentions John Crouch shouldn't be telling me anything. He's going to carry the bucket. That's what John Crouch is going to do. And John Crouch, if you look at his resume, in terms of like fighter output,
Benson Henderson. Yeah.
I mean, it's as legit as you're going to get. You had mentioned people with 2 times submitting to a guillotine. Who's the second example?
Chad George versus Scott Jorgensen.
Dude, Jorgensen is a savage.
Chad, well, yeah, I told Chad that 8 weeks before his fight, and he decided that he wasn't going to win on that the very day that I told him that. See, Jorgensen came into Couture's one time and was this little 125er that was sparring hard with everybody, with Martin Kampman, with Shawn Tompkins.
He hit like a 170er.
He was getting in there, and I was like, oh shit, you're fighting that guy? I was like, dude, he's a badass. And I like talked them all up, and Chad decided right then that he wasn't going to win the fight. I saw it in his eyes. I know Chad very well, and he quit the fight weeks before it ever even happened. So when he went in there, he went in there to lose as quickly and as painlessly as possible, and even pulled this little fake I'm a kind of unconscious thing. It was the worst acting. It was the worst acting that I've seen since that documentary about him where he halfway acts like he's I don't know. Like Chad had a documentary called Occupation Fighter or something like that, and it was like half scripted or whatever. It was terrible. Anyway, yeah, that was the other fight. Yeah.
So you reconnect with Rico Chiaperelli after this. Do you call him? Does he call you? How do you guys start communicating?
Yeah. So they after I fought Wiman, I spent a few months dealing with my back issues, right? And I had pretty severe back issues that I was kind of working out. And in the meantime, they had scheduled me a fight with Efrain Escudero. And Efrain is like a wrestler, and has a strong wrestling background. And I'm like, okay, me versus wrestlers. Jim Miller, decision loss. Clay Guida, decision loss. In the past, Clay French, decision loss. And I'm like, I'm having a hard time with this. I need to go back to my roots. I need to learn wrestling. And I remember at the time, my friend Jeremy Humphreys, he had been a roommate in college wrestling with this guy named Mark Dickman, and who ended up like fighting in Bellator a few times, I think. And he said that I heard Mark Dickman was trained with Rico Chiaperelli, and I was like, Rico still is training people? Because Rico had closed down the Raw gym, and there were like whispers around LA about him still being around or him still like training a little bit. And I was like, man, I was like, really? Like Rico is like teaching again, he's coaching fighters, and Jeremy's like, yeah, I think so. And so I had I had a little vacation that I had taken, and I was in like the Alabama hills in Lone Pine, California, and I was tripping on mushrooms, and
Fuck
everybody
yeah.
that
Fuck yeah.
everybody that was important in my life came to me in this trip. And
You took a heavy dose, apparently.
yeah. And yeah, I don't putz
You don't
You
fuck
around.
around.
you win
Yeah,
it by
I
sight.
either do it or I don't, right?
Okay.
I don't, as Terrence McKenna would say, take some pissant amount and think that I'm actually doing it. No, like I actually, yeah, if you want to get anything out of it, you
Right.
don't dabble, in my
I
opinion.
agree. I
And
agree.
so all these people were one by one coming to me in this experience, in this journey. And I saw Rico, and I was like, and then I started thinking about him during this trip and everything. And I was like, wow. I was like, man, this guy was a father figure to me. And I never really addressed that or realized that or accepted it or
Wow.
even thought about that. And I was like, I, I've got it, like Jeremy just mentioned him a few weeks ago. I was like, I got to get a hold of him. And so I called him up, and I got his number, and I called him up, and I met with him. And at the time, Dickman had already had a falling out with him, and Mark Dickman was already gone, so he wasn't there. And I was like, I want someone to coach me. And he was like, I don't think I'm going to do it. He's like, I'm not going to coach anyone. And I'm like, look, I can pay you. I can make it worth your time. And he's like, let's get together and train once. And so, do you guys know Sean Williams, the jiu-jitsu guy?
So Shawn Williams was a black belt under Henzo, I believe.
Yeah.
I do know who he is. Yes.
Sean was doing these covert little awesome one-on-one training sessions with Rico in this dingy ass, like this this gym in the hood, like in the hood in Inglewood, in a really crappy area, like way in the back behind some industrial building with no sign or nothing. And he just had all the mats
Well,
from Raw in there.
let's keep this in mind. After Tom Erickson Bustamante fight, Rico was kicked out of Henzo's affiliation and association.
Yeah.
So this was kind of, something. Let's kind of keep
Okay.
this
Yeah, I
between
never
each
thought
other.
about that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, and and I had already known, I think I had already known Shawn Williams, like I think so. Yeah, we had kind of just
He's
like we
got a
had already.
real good reputation. I've never talked to him, but he's got a very good
Great
reputation.
guy. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
great guy. And he was going there he's a master in his own right. He was going there to learn from Rico once a week. And I went in there, and Rico kind of made the session about me, and I worked with him. And then we just worked out a deal, and I started working with Rico, and yeah, he wasn't in my corner for that first fight against Efrain Escudero, but I fully trained with him and everything, and it was what I needed to kind of rekindle my career at the time.
So Efrain Escudero, this is another tough match, tough six versus tough eight. It was at UFC 145. Escudero had a win over Benson Henderson and late replacement, I'm showing. And Clay Guida showed up and was giving you mad respect in the audience.
Really?
Yeah, front row.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was real happy when you walked out.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. I remember Clay being in the front row when I fought Jim Miller. And I remember Clay yelling at me to like get up and wrestle and everything. Clay's a good guy, man. Like I got nothing but good to say about him. Yeah, I didn't know he was there
Yeah.
when I fought Efren. I just remember the Efren fight being kind of nerve-wracking because I was in really good shape for that fight. I mean, I was in good shape for all my fights, but that fight especially, I was very strong, and he hung out in his corner and wouldn't leave. Like he stood in his corner with John Crouch and Benson Henderson right there, and he
He
didn't
had
want
Benson
to.
in his corner. I
Yeah, he
apologize.
had
Yeah,
Benson
yeah,
in his
yeah. My
corner,
fault. My
and he
fault.
didn't want to move out of it. You know what I mean? And the thing about it was I would approach, and then he would like rattle off a really hard combination, and I'd be like, ah man, he's trying to catch me coming in. And so I was like a little hesitant. But one thing I did use a little bit of psychological warfare in that fight. It was like sometimes when there's a lot of tension in a fight, you kind of just want to break the tension, because let's face it, the person in there's trying to kill you and you're trying to kill them. And so it's a weird situation. You can have respect for somebody, but there's tension. And I think that's what Kevin Holland does in his fights. I think all this gum flapping that Kevin Holland does is just him trying to find comfort. And so I was in this situation where every time I would come in, Efrain would like throw an uppercut hook really hard, and I'd be like, man, he's looking to catch me, and I'm like that, like we're not really able to exchange the way I want to exchange. And I remember I had clinched him, and the crowd was chanting USA, and I go, and I'm like clinched with him, and we're kind of in this stalled out position. I'm trying to body lock him. I can't quite get it. He's shifting his hips. And I'm like USA. I'm like, we're both Americans. And he goes, huh. And I go, these fucking nationalists. And he goes, huh. And I'm like, I got you. Like, because now he's not like trying to kill me. We're kind of friends. And so I kind of tricked him in that way, right? Maybe at least
you lowered his aggression. Yeah.
I lowered his aggression, right?
Yeah.
And once I got that little out of him, I was like, okay, now we're like
We can
having
figure it
a
out.
gentleman's exchange
The fight starts. Yeah.
rather than being like, yeah.
Well, sometimes people need anger for motivation. They need like that
Yeah.
hate that, and
Yeah.
that's just sometimes that's their approach. And what you did was you let the pressure
Disarmed
out.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So I took his danger level away when I did
wow.
that, because he was no longer like, he was still doing it, but he was just kind of, he was a little bit more like light. There was a lightness about it, right?
You took the gas out of the press on the pedal. Yeah, it
Yeah,
wasn't going as fast. He
right.
had you in a deep heel hook that looked like it blew your ankle out.
So what happened was 6 weeks before this fight, I had already had a bad ankle and I was wearing shoes, and some dipshit I was training with, some fucking spazzy, nervous weirdo, had a heel hook and I had shoes on, and he's like holding it. And he's like, and then he
Ah,
just blew my ankle. I just popped it
ah.
like real bad. And so the whole rest of that training camp, my ankle was all taped up and I had to kind of protect it. And then, as luck would have it, the very first takedown and exchange of the fight, like I trip him and he goes right for that leg. And so yeah, here's the thing, man. Like I needed to win the fight. I mean, you need to win all your fights, but I was not gonna tap. That was at that point in my career where I was just like, there's no way I'm ever gonna submit again. My only submission loss in the pros is to uh,
Wyman.
well, no, when the ref screwed up, no,
Yeah.
is to Josh Neer. Josh
Oh, the
Neer,
triangle.
the
Yeah, the triangle.
triangle. So
Yeah.
that's my only time I ever tapped out, and that stung so bad, and that bothered me so much for so many years. And I was at this point where I'm like, I'm never tapping out like in a fight. Like,
Yeah.
like honestly, like think about it. Like if we're talking about you get half the money
Yeah.
that you would get in your career if you lose. If I'm fighting for $20,000 or $18,000, I get double that if I win, and I get half of the total if I lose. Why are people tapping out to arm bars? Why are people tapping out to heel hooks? Why are people tapping out to like I don't know, like knee bars and shit? It's like there's like I get it,
Tim
but
Sylvia
it's
broke his arm and was out for a year and a
And
half.
no sold it. No sold it. Like, no,
Yeah.
it's not broke. Let's fight. Yeah.
there's times when you get to like that like remember the Jamal Hill versus Paul Craig fight where like his arm's just flopping and it's like dislocated and everything. I guess like look, if you're Misha Tate against Ronda, the first fight where her arm was completely gone, I mean
Yeah.
I get it. But my arm was like that against Lausanne. You just couldn't see it. He was bellied out, and my arm was making sounds like a guitar when you tune it. It go bing, bing. It stopped popping. No, I'm
Dude, and
serious.
I don't mean to laugh. I don't mean to laugh,
It
but
stopped popping and it started making weird like guitar tuning sounds.
that's
And
not good.
I was just like, fuck you, this is my last fight. I ain't tapping. You know what I mean? So anyway, I remember Efrain after the fight, I went and talked to him and he's like, I don't know why you didn't tap for the heel hook. It was in. And I'm like, because I'm not trying to lose. Like I don't know what to tell you. Like I'm not yeah. So anyway, yeah. He's like, I don't know why you didn't tap. And I'm like, why would I tap? Like I did it
Yeah,
one time and I still regret it, you know? So
yeah. To this day, yeah,
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 to
yeah.
this day, yeah. Then at that
Go all in
moment,
on it. Yeah,
yeah, I don't care anymore. I've made peace with all my fights and my
yeah.
losses and
Just be like
everything.
Deontay Wilder. To this day, I still regret it. Yeah, yeah. All right.
Oh
Here's
yeah, I
Mac.
know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Mac. Here's the thing with you. One, I really enjoy conversations with you. Like I truly do. We've got 4 more fights. I don't. I'm not going anymore. I want. Give it a little time. We're gonna redo this. We're gonna do this again. I really enjoy our interactions.
Oh, thanks, man. No, I appreciate that. Yeah. No,
Come back on and drag Jay Hieron with you.
okay, yeah. I'll get a hold of Jay and Myke, and I'll just put a little something in
Those
there.
guys are fucking savages,
Yeah.
dude. And the stories from the Vegas Strip, just involving them outside of the ring, is just they're legendary,
Yeah,
absolute legendary.
they're tough dudes, and yeah, if Myke in the gym was like a top 2, top 3 in the world guy at the time. Yeah, he was a pretty amazing. And so, I mean, that just goes to show you. I mean, there's something also to competing. I mean, we had talked the time before about Guida. Guida is one of those guys who doesn't perform in the gym. I've heard all
Terrible.
kinds
No,
of
no. There's
stories.
high
Yeah,
school wrestlers that have their way with them in the gym. Yeah,
right.
it's
And
true.
the dude is 100% go when he fights. He just turns on something else. And so there's something about being a competitor that's important, and that's a skill too. And if you don't have it and you can't perform there, that's part of your job too, just like all the other.
Yeah. So Clay's a regional guy. Like I was there at his first fight ever, where he drinking came out of the audience and fought a guy. Um, there's high school wrestlers that like it's kind of like an unspoken thing in the gym where it's like, no, you're going to be Clay. You're going to be Clay in the gym. You're going to pin him. You're going to get a
Yeah.
takedown. You're going to do all these things. But when you turn the lights on, everybody is just, no. That's different.
Yeah.
Like you're pinned by a car. Clay Guida should be in your top 3 list to get it off of you.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah.
like people like that fight to their fullest potential, and people like Myke were never able to fulfill their potential in the gym. And then I was kind of somewhere in the middle, in between all that. I kind of like I had moments, but I was never really able to be the guy that I was in the gym. But then again, like it wasn't there wasn't that much a separation between me and the gym and me in the fight. I was just maybe not quite as good as I was in the
Okay.
gym.
Joey, ring IQ. Where do you put Mac on that list?
On the upper echelon for sure.
Oh, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Like even Wiman, like in a rematch, I think he elevated because it was you. And in that match, I think both of you guys showed just an incredible amount of ring IQ between the two of you. And I know Wiman at that time was training with the Diaz brothers and Jake Shields. So I know that kind of had to have helped him. But in terms of ring IQ, I honestly think you're for sure an athlete.
But so is everyone at that level.
But so is everybody. And I think that your ring IQ probably allowed you to perform higher than guys that, like, in terms of physical ability and pedigree and background. Dude, you went to Raw and you competed in those rooms where they accepted you as a teammate.
Yeah.
Those are Olympians.
Yeah.
Did you know what I mean? Like that's the Olympic athlete. They're a little different than most, and by them accepting you without like a big wrestling pedigree in high school, come on, dude, that's IQ, bro. That's where you learned it.
I hear you, and I really appreciate that.
It's the truth.
I will say though that like there's a fine line when you're that guy. There's a fine line between overthinking things. You know what I mean? And sometimes to have that ring IQ as you call it or whatever, it's like you get caught up in thought, and that's the challenge is trying to be seamlessly working in between thought and flow state and not getting caught too much in thought. And if you're like me, this is another problem that I had is like just personality wise, I'm a bit of a pessimist. And so when bad shit starts happening, I go, ah man, here we go. This is a bad one. And that downward spiral of negative thought can be toxic to your performance. And so I'd be lying if I said that didn't happen to me a few times, you know. And so that's one thing that some wisdom that I try to impart to my people that I teach that are competing is like um, the best, very best guys, toughness is like brushing off the bad stuff while it's happening. Frankie Edgar embodied that.
Oh yeah.
Like Frankie Edgar in his prime was like there's not many people that compare in that way. Every moment of the fight, he's thinking about what he's going to do next, whether he's at the bottom of Mount getting smashed or he's like taking you down. He's just what's next, what's next, what's next. He does not dwell. If he lost 3 rounds, 4 rounds going into the fifth round, he's not discouraged. He's like, what's next? And that's a little characteristic that I wish I
Oh
would
yeah.
have.
His fights against Gray, he embodied that for sure.
Yeah, yeah,
Everything bad was happening, and he didn't lose his mind. Is insane.
yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. So much respect for that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hit your mic, Mike.
He's doing bare knuckle October 4th in New
Frankie,
Jersey. Yeah, he's fighting Jimmy Rivera. He's fighting a Philly cop. Oh no, a New Jersey cop.
Jimmy Rivera. Jimmy Rivera is tough.
Dude, Jimmy Rivera is really tough. And we got Mike Perry versus Little Heathen. Yeah, Joe. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, they're kind of different weights in a
Yeah,
way.
they
I'm
are.
sure they're meeting at some weight, but yeah.
And like I think they're
I
meeting
still
at
think about doing
180.
the bare knuckle shit sometimes. I still think about it. Yeah, yeah.
Well, we're supposed to be hitting Oregon first half of next year.
I
So
talked to Nate Shook. I don't think they're interested in me. I told him like, hey, like I got a few years left where I'd be interested in doing this. I don't think they're interested. I don't know what it is. He told me we're gonna take your name and put it into an algorithm and see like what Google thinks of you and like how many people are interested in all this stuff and can you tell me what your social media following is like? And I'm like, okay, so you're not gonna make me sell tickets like King of the Cage did, but you basically want me to sell the event by having a social media following. And then I never heard back from them, so I just figured that I just don't play the social media game. I don't have followers or whatever. So
oh, like I said,
That is the new ticket sales game is Twitter followers.
well,
Yep.
here, you say whatever it is you want about the UFC. The contracts that the women fight for are just as heavy and weighted as the men's contracts, and it's primarily based on their social media.
Wow.
Yeah, like WNBA. I mean, I don't know anybody that personally watches it, but I know they complain about money, but the UFC, you're never
Yeah.
gonna have that issue.
That's
Like,
kind of
Yeah,
sad.
man, it's a different world we live in, and
wait, kind of say that women are making as much money as men, Joey? Is that what you
No,
just said?
it's sad that
Oh,
it's
oh,
not your performance that dictates
oh,
your
oh,
pay,
oh,
but your
oh,
social
okay.
media following. So in the females,
exactly, and it's
Like
in the
that.
female
especially
weird,
hard. It's especially hard for the girls because look, you can be a guy
And
like
sorry, Joey.
GSP or Randy Couture or someone like me and just kind of be you and do your thing. And if you compete well enough, you can get a job and you can be the purple mohawk tattoo guy that's I just want to bang, bro, and
yeah,
whatever. And
I
they
like
can be
Julian.
like, oh, we like that. And then you can have your special personality and all that stuff. But with the women, it's really
sex
tough
appeal.
for them. It's all based on sexuality and
Yeah,
attractiveness. I mean, don't get me wrong. We have women who are good who don't have that look. And you see them in the UFC, and I'm so glad that they're getting their fair shake. But you know that if they decided to get lip injections,
right.
dude, who is this chick with the fucking fake eyelashes? Like the Tracy Cortez or whatever the fuck. Like,
Yeah,
bro, like I'm not don't want to hate because oh I'm just hating on her, but it's like the fact like if someone wants to do something and it makes them feel good, if a girl wants to say, "Hey, I'm doing this because it makes me feel good for me," you gotta just give them the
right.
benefit of the doubt and say, "Okay, fine. That's what you're doing it for. Cool." Like I respect that. You get permanent makeup or whatever. I think that's a little weird. You get breast implants. I think that's a little weird.
Yep.
But whatever. It's your body. You're allowed to do what you want with it. But it's like, what are you doing fighting with fake eyelashes? Like Rose Namajunas hit her and the slow motion replay, you literally see this thing flying off.
Yeah, it's
How
ridiculous
is the athletic commission even allowing you to do that? I mean, that thing could go in your eye or whatever. And
for
what
sure.
for? Because you think it makes you look better? You're supposed to be a fighter. If you
Right.
want a modeling career, go and fucking model.
Yeah,
Yeah, just
Uh,
fucking weird. And I think the girls are often pushed into that.
for sure.
And I don't think it's fair. I mean, I'm sure there are some guys who have OnlyFans and do all that sort of thing.
Joey does.
Don't throw me under the bus right there. I'm just starting.
What is it? I'll subscribe
Yeah,
now.
yeah, yeah. I know. No, dude, it's very dark.
Oh no, that's okay. I'm into that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No, but
I'll send you a link.
yeah, yeah.
but I think like it's a shame, and that's kind of one thing that I didn't really like about when I saw women's MMA first coming up. I was like, you know, all this focus was on Gina Carano, and I'm
Right.
like, uh, you guys heard of Tara La Rosa? Like, and it's like Tara doesn't.
Look at you. Look at
Tara
you.
doesn't
Yep.
have that look,
Right.
Like, none of these girls had that look. When a girl has the look and she's got a little bit of skill, then they're all like, "Oh,
Right.
now we can market
Well,
this." And
Shelby Walker was like in that category. If you're talking early MMA, Shelby Walker and Erica
well,
Montoya were supposed to be the
Yeah.
first girls UFC, like fight, women's UFC fight. Yeah. And two
Erica
very attractive women.
Montoya, yeah, that's a problem right there. Yeah, yeah, she's caused a lot of problems in some people's lives, but I'll save that for another time. But
Yeah.
yeah, Shelby Walker, damn, I think she passed away, man. Yeah, well, long time ago.
Pills. Yeah, pills, dude.
Yeah, I remember that was a nasty mismatch, her and Judy Neff. Judy Neff, Roger Neff's wife, just as jacked as Roger Neff,
I
and like
remember him.
on top of Shelby Walker in mount, punching her, and Shelby Walker's like doing this, and like kind of pushes the sports bra out of the way, and Judy Neff punches her in the face, fixes the sports bra, and keeps punching her. It was hilarious. Yeah, yeah, that was a nasty mismatch, man. Like. So sometimes you can't avoid that in the beginning of a sport.
Yeah. Marlowe's Conan.
Yeah, I
I
remember.
mean, she's another savage. Like there's the early women's pioneers were different. I thought Marlowe's Conan actually had the look. She's very
Yeah.
attractive and had the ability to fight. Like in my opinion, in terms of complete packages, pre Ronda, Marlowe's Conan all day long.
She was tough. She's
Yeah,
tough.
yeah. One of my favorite interviews. Anyway, Mac, dude, always a gentleman. I know you've got a very rigid schedule. You've always made time for us, and it's greatly appreciated. And I look forward to a fifth. That'd be the next one is 5.
Yeah. Part 5.
Shit.
Let's do it.
Fucking right. Mac,
Thanks for
thank
being
you,
here.
sir. I appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Take care. Joey.
Myke, here's the thing. You don't appreciate my professionalism. I had to bite my tongue so bad when the Nazi shit came up. I could have done 30 minutes on World War II, but I resisted.
You're a big World War II guy.
I
You're a
resisted.
big World War II guy. And dude, it's, fuck, we're still feeling some of the side effects of what took place, so long ago. Yeah. Yeah, that Hoelzer Reich, like, I mean, I didn't want to say it in the interview. Dude, it's two like white trash people, and they were like throwing a ton of money. You've got to, dude. You've got to look.
I'm going to look them up as soon as this is over.
You have to look them up. It's amazing what they look like.
I mean, 15 years ago, they were taking a chance on a brand. Obviously, it didn't pan out, and they've hit in hard times.
But the money
like that back then,
the money they threw at it.
They said they threw like $6,000 at him.
But that's just him. They had 3 or 4 other people. They had musicians. They had like a lot of ads. Like they were probably burning through $30,000 a month.
Yeah. It didn't pan out.
Maybe it was a work accident, with a cash settlement. It was something.
The problem was they picked the wrong time. They should have sponsored Jake Shields. Maybe Strickland, but for sure Shields.
Yeah.
Jake Shields, I'm joking. Please come on the show. We love you.
Yeah. Anyway, like, share, subscribe. Joey, I think we got to recut the beginning of the show. We got to go right into our interviews. And it's going to require you to do a live read mid-show.
Okay.
Maybe first 20 minutes. After the 20-minute mark, I give you the nod. You do a live read where we hit the only ground. Masters of Martial Arts Substack. There's a couple things I'd like to, people that are putting in the work, for history. William Colosimo, once his project takes off, I definitely want to plug that as well.
Right up what you want me to do. I'll make it my own, and we'll do it.
Excellent. I do. Joe, always a pleasure, sir.
Always fun. See ya.
Take care. Bye-bye.